last week, we did a flowchart. The exemplar that I used was the scenario where a child is hurt, and we need to determine what the correct treatment is. So in this flowchart, we are determining how the child was hurt first. If it was a cut, we need to determine how bad. In order to determine how bad, we need to know if the bleeding stops or if the bleeding won't stop. If the bleeding stops, then we could treat it at home by cleaning the wound, putting antibiotics, and a bandage. If the bleeding won't stop, we have to go to the hospital. In the case of a burn, we need to determine how bad it was. If the burn is just swollen, then we could use cold water, antibiotics, and a bandage, treat it at home. If there's skin missing, then we need to go to the hospital. So this is a flowchart that shows the beginning of our process and all the different end results to the process. And with pseudocode, we need to basically write out the instructions for our program to come up with this, with all of these pathways. So in here, this is where we could say that we need to store some data, or that certain things should happen under certain conditions using a conditional, or if something needs to happen repeatedly, and that would be something like a loop. So we're just putting in the instructions, and we're not focused on syntax. We're not focused on angle braces or parentheses. What we are focused on is the strategy for completing this task. So we start off with just a brief description about what this is about. So a child is hurt, and we need to determine the correct treatment. And now we can start writing our code. Okay, so I've written out the pseudocode for just the left side of this diagram over here that determines if the child was cut, what to do. So if the wound is a cut, then all of this stuff is going to happen. So I just tab this stuff in, the rest of this code in. We need to determine the severity, and how do we do that? We're going to check to see if the bleeding stops. And if this is true, then we're going to treat it at home. Otherwise, meaning that the bleeding won't stop, then in that case, we need to take the child to the hospital. Okay, and then I would just create another paragraph over here and replicate this for what would happen if the child had a burn. Okay, so that's what you are going to be doing. You have a flowchart from last class, so now you're going to create the pseudocode for it.